Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Living Freestyle Game Dev Live Q&A. Too early in the morning to be thinking straight live stream. What's up? My name's Kevin. We do this twice a week right now, Sunday nights and Wednesday mornings. This is basically set up as office hours, as just generally speaking, a live game dev Q&A where you can come, you can ask questions. We can just chat about different aspects of especially working with Unreal. Currently, I work at Riot Games in R&D. If there are no questions, if nobody's here, that's not a problem, because what we're doing is we're just kind of working our way through our own game. The way that works is questions take priority. If there aren't any, then I'll just kind of continue working on all the cool stuff that I don't get a chance to do at work. I do a lot of cool stuff at work, but there's a lot of cool stuff that I still want to learn about. And so this is all about me stumbling through that with you all. So just going to do a quick check on our audio. Should be cool. See how that goes, and then we'll just get straight into it. Let me double check a couple things. There were no questions that I saw when I looked last night, as far as any specifics that anybody wanted to go over. So what we'll do is we'll hop straight into Unreal. Now, if you recall where we left off last time with our own actual kind of development stuff, is we were working on the AI, and we were working on making the AI aim and shoot and do stuff like that. And that's working. It's working the way we wanted it to, in the sense that if I'm behind these melee champs, the range champs will generally not take a shot unless they have a clear shot. So that's what we wanted, and that was working pretty well overall. And there were a couple things that we wanted to kind of take a look at as far as just quality of stuff. Like, it's kind of weird to me that we can jump up on top of our enemies. There's just a couple little like low-hanging fruit things that are driving me nuts, that I think will just help a lot of this stuff be clearer. And also, when we get close in to ranged champions, it would be great if they moved back, right? They tried to maintain their rangeness. So there's a couple of the other things that we're going to work on today, while we hang out for questions. The other bit is, I think it'd be great to make our melee champions actually attack. Then we'll have a ranged attack and a melee attack, and we can start actually looking at overall logic for which attack they decide to use. I think eventually what will determine if a character is ranged or melee will be less about whether they're specified as ranged or melee, and maybe the weapons they pick up will make them smart like that. So this is cool. Interestingly enough, I am not dying right now. I believe our God mode stuff is still turned on, which is fine for what we're trying to do. So let's take a look at a couple of things with our enemy. We'll bring up this dude's blueprint. And when we're looking at his blueprint, what I want to know is the enemy inherits from the base character, and you can see that up here in the top right. If you hit the magnifying glass, it'll go straight there, or I can just hit the wrench to edit it. So I want to make this change, I believe, in the base character. And what I'm looking for is I'm checking to see if you can step up on. So here's the thing. You can see right here, I was thinking like, why is it that our character is able to climb up on top of the other character? And I was thinking that it might be because can step up on was turned on. But that does not seem to be the case. So what that potentially leaves me with is our enemy either having an override, or it's possible, can step up on is still no, or it's possible that the enemy's physics asset is set up differently. So can character step up on? Let's just change this to no. All right, let's try that. You'll find a friendly ranged character. Nope, we can still climb up on top of them. So that's not it. So perhaps what's happening is it's actually our physics asset. So let's see if we can take a look at if we have a physics asset. We definitely have a physics asset for the mannequin. That's what we use to do our ragdoll when they die. Here is the physics assets. We're not doing per poly collision. I don't think there's anything in here for settings that we can change. But let's just check. Linear damping, double-sided geometry. Oh, that would be an interesting bit. Let's try something. Let's try removing the physics asset. This is why. What I want to know is I want to eliminate some variables. I want to know if it's the physics asset or the capsule. So right now, none of these dudes should have physics assets. I can still climb up on him. I also can't shoot them now. Reason I can't shoot them? There's no way to get collision. Now, interestingly enough, I still have my physics asset. That's interesting. This was the mannequin physics asset. Let's bring that back. Make sure we can shoot enemies again. Yes, we can shoot them again. Okay, so it's not the physics asset. The physics asset is not what is allowing us to step up on these characters. It's something else. Damage volume? Cannot step up on. Let's see here. The mesh. The inventory camera, inventory light, HP widget. This is the capsule. This is the enemy. I mean, it has to be the capsule. I don't know what else it could be. Let's see here. Is there a way for me to quickly turn off all stuff? Let's say we're gonna ignore physics body. Let's just ignore world static, world ons. Let's just ignore all this stuff. Let's see if that's what it is. Find a nice friendly enemy to try to jump up on. Oh, well, okay. So it turns out if you turn off the world static, all of your enemies they all just die because they all just fall through the floor. That's pretty awesome. So let's take a look at that and bring back our world static at least. Okay. All right, so he's still climbing up on top of this dude. And he can walk on top of him too. It's kind of weird. Okay, let's see if we can find in the base character the mesh. Here's our mesh. This is our blueprint. Let's see if we can find in the animation blueprint where the climb is happening. Event graph. Interface. It's actually probably called mantle. Let's see if it's called mantle. Binoculars. Nope, that's not what we want. Pistol. Torch. Climb. Jump in air, fall, grounded, land, land, land. Okay. Land movement. Let's see if we have a mantle animation. We do. So who's playing the mantle animation? See if this is the one we think it is. Yep. So this is our mantle animation. Let's find out who's using this. Taking a look at our reference viewer. Being used by this montage, which is being used by the anim character BP. It is called mantle. We search for mantle. Here we go. Mantle hoot. Mantle two-handed default. Important. Get mantle, switch on mantle. This is where we get the mantle. Switch on the overlay state, depending on what it is. This is where we're actually doing the mantling. Okay. Let's try, let's see where get mantle's being used. Okay. Mantle start, here we go. This is being called, let's find mantle start. Follow the thread. It is not coming up. Okay. Let's see here. I want to know what's triggering the mantling though. That's what I want to know. Mantle start. It's basically called, it's got to be called in the animation blueprint. Mantle check. Here we go. Mantle check. Mantle start. If everything checks out, start the mantle. Here we go. Okay, so we come in here. Here's our mantle check. And what we're doing is we're getting... this is where we get our capsule. We're tracing by physics body. That's what's happening. So it's looking at the physics body. So that's why it's climbing up on top of it, I believe. But it's checking to see if it's walkable. Oh, it's because the is walkable is being returned probably based on the environment. And so when you go to mantle, when you go to look at an enemy, you basically have it where you hit a physics body and then but you're standing on a walkable surface, so all this works out. And then it comes in here and it does the mantle. Trace down from the first hand to impact and determine if the hit location is walkable. Yeah, so it's basically tracing down. And then we check to see if the capsule has room. The location of the target, trying to calculate the mantle height. Okay, cool. It calculates, determine the mantle type. Okay. We just need to change it so that the mantle, we either need to change it so that the trace channel, we have a physics body in our trace channel. Enemy. Object type pawn. Interesting. Physics body. Let's try ignore. Problem is, I believe if we ignore that, let's see. That's not it. It's not it. That's kind of a bummer. Wait. I thought I switched that to ignore. Hold on a second. Compile. It's almost like it did. What? It's not letting me change that? Compile. Let's see here. Okay, physics body is not allowing me to change this. Hold on one second. All right. Why wouldn't it let me do this? I have a custom preset for my collision. My collision response is whatever I change this to, it's basically ignoring it. I can't actually change this to physics body. Let's see. Query no physics collision. Custom. Object type. Pawn. If I change this to physics body, nope, it doesn't matter. I can't change this. All right, I don't understand what that is. I'm gonna have to do some digging and figure out what's going on there. Because it's definitely strange. I even have this cannot step up on. What is, oh, you know what this was? This damage volume was here so that if the character walked up to anybody, it would actually do damage. So let's find if this is used real quick. This may be another, this may actually be another piece of why our character is getting bounced around when there's a lot of enemies. So let's just get rid of this damage volume. Let's compile that. Take a look at our capsule. We're set to pawn. I don't think we fixed our stepped up pawn, but I'm also kind of like, yeah, he can still do that. What'll be interesting though is if we could increase our number of spawns to, let's say 30. Do we still get bounced around like we used to? It doesn't seem like it. I think that damage volume may have been what was causing the the getting bounced around thing. Whoa. I definitely fell through the floor there. Something happened there. Setting the mantle target failed. Alright. Okay, I think overall, like, except for the mantling of the enemies, which I've got to figure out what's going on with. I do think we fixed the big jitter thing that was happening, which is cool. The other thing that was happening before, there was another thing that was happening before where I was getting these errors that I also figured out how to fix, and it had to do with if I was dying. Oh, that guy went berserker. Dude, there's a lot of enemies on here, and honestly, they're doing a pretty good job of keeping their spacing. Alright, well, from a debug standpoint, I think that damage volume may have been the big problem that was happening. I think what I want to do right now is I either want to make it so that the ranged enemies find places that are at range. So let's take a look at the AI ability tree enemy. Okay, and what we're going to do is fellow friends set highness of aim, start, shoot task, wait, update current attack position. Let's take a look at our current attack. It finds a new spot, and the spot that it tries to find is it basically, in here it's going through CS Media. Thank you very much. So CS Media says, I think it can prevent climbing on enemies by checking what collision channel the mantle cast tests for. Let's see here. That was in the mantle. Hold on, I gotta find where the mantle was happening. Yeah, so it's testing for physics body. I guess I probably need a new channel that is separate. Probably. Thanks for joining us. All right. Okay, so we'll trace down the trace channels here in a minute. Okay, so back to getting our range characters to pick a spot that's at a decent range. So what we're doing here is we're going through, we're getting a random location in the navigable radius from where we last saw our enemy, and then we're checking that location to see if the location is greater than our local ring index. Oh, interesting. Okay, so so the thing is, what we want though is, all right, this is what's happening. All right, let me draw this out. I'll show you what's happening. Where's my whiteboard? Here's my whiteboard. Okay, so what's happening is we have, if you recall, let me get a pencil here. The way our enemies work is, if this is the hero, right? This is our hero. All right, we have these rings that are around our hero character. And what the enemies are doing is, when they decide where they're going, they basically look and say, I need a spot. And they basically say, okay, I need a spot that is somewhere around the hero, which is represented by the green dot. And then what it does is it goes and it says, okay, are there already 4 enemies in this first ring? If so, what it does is it says, okay, well then I need to look in the next ring. All right, and so on. So it's basically looking out through the rings to figure out where to find it. Right now, there's nothing that I'm aware of that tells our ranged characters that they should not look within these first couple of rings. And so what we want to do is, if it's a ranged character, we want to increase our ring index for ranged characters so that they start looking for spots that are outside of a certain distance. There's some interesting logic overlap there that we need to think about. I can think of some tests, but this is our local ring index. This is our update a current attack position. The local ring index is getting set. Where's that getting set from? Okay, so here's where we're setting our local ring index. What happens is this is our updated attack position. When we receive this task, we come in and we basically come in here and we start at the ring index of 1, and then we loop through. I think what we would want to do here is one quick thing we could do, and I'll just prove that this works. Let's just start at ring 3, for example. If we play now, all of our enemies should arrange themselves at a distance that is away from us. So they're doing a pretty good job of maintaining a pretty wide distance. There's a few that are kind of coming in closer up, but you can see they're maintaining their distance because they're basically going into that third ring as opposed to being right there. This is sort of what we want for a ranged. I think ultimately we may, rather than doing this ring based, we may need to do it index based or some combination thereof. But I think probably what we could do as a quick little thing is, let's start at ring 1 again. I think what we can do is blackboard controlled pawn is ranged. Okay, so let's add a new variable called ring start indexed, and we'll make it an integer. Okay, so maybe try measure. Okay, so CS Media is thinking here, maybe we can try measure casting distance from the enemy player, then subtract some distance from the trace and only search for rings closer to the enemy than the distance. I'm not sure. I think something like that could work, and I think ultimately we'll probably end up making that even smarter, like just the way we're doing it right now. But I think for now we can make this even more simple, not even do distance based anything. And what we can do is we can take this, compile it, we can set our ring start index to 1, and then in here we have a test that is, if it's ranged, what we want to do is set our, oh, interesting. If it's ranged, it comes through, it gets a, oh, look at this. Actually, that's not even the way it works. It gets a random location in navigable radius from the AI actor's position. Like, this isn't what we want. So they'll never, it's kind of like just wherever they land, that's where they go. I think, but what I think actually what we want is, so that's our attack position. That's our max per ring. There's our attack position setting. Okay, okay. I think what we want to do is, whether this is true or false, I think we could probably skip this whole section. I don't think we even need this range section to a certain extent. So here's what we're going to do. If this is a ranged character, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my ring start to be, let's try 3. And then we'll come back into the rest of this, and then the ranged characters will work just like the melee, theoretically. So if we play this now, what should happen is ranged characters should now try to find locations that are around the hero, but they should pick places that are 3 rings away. Now, I don't know if this dude who's right here on my left, that seems closer than 3 rings personally. Okay, so let's make another change here. Let's change this so that the enemy spawner is only spawning ranged characters. And then, just for testing purposes. And then also let's change our number of enemies to be 10. Oh, I know what we did wrong. We forgot something. Okay, so that's obviously not working. Why is it not working? It's not working because in our update current attack position, we're setting this ring index, but we're not actually using it. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to make sure that our ring start index is connected to here. And also we want to start with our default as being 0. Okay, and then also I believe down here, finding a new spot, we're going 0 to 10, we're getting a random location in the navigable radius. And I think we want to do this as well. Okay, so now, when these dudes spawn, they should find, oh man, they all seem pretty close to me. Something's not working. Something is definitely not working. Let's see here. Start index of 3. We're setting the local ring index. Oh, no. I think we also need to set our local ring index to the ring start. And hold on a second. This goes 0. The point of this loop is just to do it 10 times. Not to set the start ring. Okay, so let's come back down here. The point of this loop again is to do this 10 times. And the local ring index gets set to the start ring index. There's probably a much better way, by the way, to do that. Rather than just doing 10 of them. Okay. There we go. Okay, so now they're moving to locations that are 3 rings out. So that is a ranged attack position now. I think that's reasonable. If we move, they move. Interesting. Okay, I think that's working. Cool. So I think with as a result of that, I think we can simplify this. Let's clean up our blueprint. I don't think we need this anymore. And I think what we want to do is take all of this. Take all of this and move it over. So we can clean up this blueprint. All right, so basically that kind of cleans that up. It's a little bit more readable now. Finding our spot. Cool. So now we can go back to our spawner, change that back to both melee and ranged, which once again, at one point in the future, some point in the future, future us is going to update the way characters are determined to be ranged or melee. So all of our ranged characters should now move away. But you know what's interesting? Our melee characters are not coming in closer. So we broke something for our melee characters. If they're ranged, ring start index of 3. If it's false, I shouldn't have to do this. Ring start index of 1. Why did I have to do that? That was kind of weird. I wouldn't think I need to do that, but I mean, it is working. Our ranged characters are at range, our melees are in close. There must be, you know what probably is happening? Is there's probably a multiply happening by this thing. Our ring index, find references. And that's an increment. Yes, look at this. So what's happening, this ring index is multiplying. So when I started it, it defaulted it to 0. It was actually getting 0. So it wasn't finding anything, which is why they never came in. That was kind of my guess based on what was happening. I think that's probably the only spot. Local ring, and here's another one. Actually, there's a couple of them. So I either need to default that to 1 or set it like I'm doing here. I don't mind setting it. Yeah, I don't mind setting it. It's fine. So if we increase our enemy spawner to 20 now. Let's just see what it feels like. That one blue dude needs to move. Okay, that's cool. These guys are all vying for positions within those first few rings. That's cool. It seems good. I think it seems alright. Start just smoking dudes. This is gonna be fun once this starts, once we start getting all this stuff in here. There's nothing like a good, satisfying headshot with cool VFX. One day, we have a long ways to go, but one day. All right, so I think that's all working, which is cool. We have some time, so maybe let's take a look and see what we can do about. It's still getting bumped around a bit. I wish I knew. I'm gonna have to dig into that and figure out how to get those traces to. Yeah, it just drives me nuts. All right, we'll figure that one out. I think what we can do is, let's see if we can make our enemies punch. The melee champions punch. Our ranged dudes are shooting. Let's see if we can get our melee dudes to punch. So let's see here. So in our enemy AIBT, what we've got is, this is our, that's patrol scan. This is flight. All right. And this is going to have to get updated quite a bit because right now we're sort of hard coding all this stuff just to get, it's more like a skeletal structure in place. Eventually what's going to happen is there's going to need to be a whole strategy portion of this. Like, imagine enemies carrying both melee and ranged weapons, how they decide which one they're using and all that kind of stuff. Or even simple things like they have 2 weapons. Should they use the one that does the most damage, or should they use the one that is, I don't know, has some ability to penetrate shields on it, as an example. And so this is going to get much more complicated at some point in the future. But for now, for us just increasing our understanding of the gameplay ability system and how it all connects and things like that, this is great. This is totally fine. So basically the way the shoot task works is it just shoots a thing. Now that's after the aim start and the wait. And in here we have set focus. We have update current positions. This is where it moves to the position. And here's a wait. Now there's a couple things we could do. What we could do is this wait could represent do stuff. Or we could potentially add in, after we set our focus and updated the attack position, we could set in a melee attack here. So what I want to do is let's take a look at our shoot task. Let's browse to that. All right, we have a shoot task. We tell friends. I'm seeing if I ever implemented a punch task as an example. Update, set focus, shoot, look around, find cover. Nope, doesn't look like it. So let's just take the shoot task and duplicate it. And we're going to make this melee attack task. And in here, what we're going to do is a few other things. Not worried about friendly fire too much. We're gonna get the AI controller, get world location, aim forward vector. We might use all this stuff. Oh, all of this is about not having friendly fire. That's interesting. That may come in handy. And then what it's going to do though, right now this is activating, after all of this stuff, when it determines whether or not it can do, there's friendly people in the way or not. What it ends up doing is it fundamentally boils down to the gameplay ability system. And it basically activates any abilities with the tags. Right now it's set to weapon fire. So let's just see what we have in here as other tags. Use skill, use item, weapon hit. Melee, interesting. Weapon fire, melee. I want to try melee. Oh, interesting. What is that? That's an event. That's an ability. Oh, I see. Weapon fire. Let's just try adding one here. Let's try melee. Use item, use skill, weapon fire. Let's try melee. Attack. Okay. So now we have... Ah, that's not what I wanted. We're going to do melee attack. Cool. Now I know we don't have any abilities that use melee attack because we just made it. So that is definitely not a thing. And what I want to do is I want to go back to our abilities. There should be a gameplay ability section. So here's our shoot gun. This is our gameplay ability for shoot gun. Let's see what other gameplay abilities we have. We have AoE heal, detonate, explosion, burst ability, landmine, skill base, throw, fire, skill, heal base, invincible. Those are all gameplay effects. Let's see what our first ability does. Okay, our first ability is a skill and it activates it. Interesting. Whereas the shoot gun, it has a montage that it plays. Alright, let's try something. Let's see if we can keep this simple. Let's try to create a new gameplay ability called melee attack. Alright, and in here, the montage that we're going to play is a punch. But I don't know if we have a punch. Nope, we do not have a montage for punch yet. Interesting. These are all turning montages. Punch. Okay, we do have a punch right that we can use. It is very kung fu looking. It has no animation on it. That's interesting. Let's see what this one does. Okay, we'll try that one. So what we need to do, mannequin animations, fire skill. Oh, that was just testing for T-pose. Okay, so let's go back here and in error, did it do pivots, aim? Oh, that's in V3. We'll just keep this in V4. See where all the montages are in here. Browse to this guy. Animation examples. Actions. Character assets. Overlay base. Let's just add a new folder here. We're gonna have to reorganize all of this stuff. This is what happens when we hack together a combination of different systems. Let's take we don't need the shoot gun. We can just take this turn in place. Oh, that's from V3. Interesting. Characters, mannequin, version 4, turn. Interesting. I wonder if we're in a mixed world right now. We may be. These are all of our aim offsets that we made for aiming. Base, turn in place, These are all of our animations. I am interesting. All right, let's just see if we can just do this by scratch. Sometimes it's easier to copy it. Sometimes it's easier to just do it from scratch. Which skeleton are we using currently? This guy is using the skeleton, ALS mannequin skeleton in the V4 folder. So let's make an animation asset of type montage from the ALS mannequin skeleton in the V4 folder. And this is going to be melee. I don't like that. Let's just call this punch right. Montage. I'm gonna have to look to see what the standard abbreviations for this is. The animation that we want to be playing. Oh my goodness. Okay. Default. Well, this is fine. We can test it with this. That'll be fine. Okay, so that's our montage. This is our melee attack, and we're going to call punch here. All right, and we're not going to do any projectiles. I'm not going to worry about aim or projectile speed or any of that stuff. Then the gameplay tag is going to be melee attack. And we're not going to worry about headshots. So we should be able to delete this one. To simplify this, target type, user event, base damage, ability tags. Oh, look at that. This is actually not the one that we wanted. This is going to be a melee ability. Oh, interesting. Okay, let's try this. Where we were using weapon fire, we're going to use melee attack. We can take off weapon fire. Let's compile this. Save this. And then what we want to do is we want to, in our ability tree, in here, rather than a shoot task, we want our melee attack. Melee attack task. And our melee attack task is going to call anything with the melee attack tag, which theoretically should cause our character to do a quick T-pose. Maybe? Let's find out. I am expecting them to freak out, and they are not freaking out. All right, so let's debug this. First, simplify a lot of stuff. Let's take this dude. Let's go down to one enemy. And we will make sure that it is a ranged or a melee character. So now we'll have one. And then what I want to see is when we play and the dude walks over to me. Hey, look at me. When he walks over to me, does he actually? Yeah, he's doing the melee attack. So what's happening in this melee attack? Melee attack task. Let's break in here. All right, so we're hitting this. We're casting the BP. We're setting our aim forward vector. We're doing a spear test. We may be kicking out of this. Friendly fire is true. So it's kicking out. Okay. Let's just skip all of this for right now. Casting an enemy, all of this stuff. What we want to do is we want to bring this into, actually this is easier than that. True or false, we want to come into here. Where's our bad guy? Oh, we can get rid of this breakpoint. Oh, he's up there. Hey buddy, I'm over here. Okay. He's either the gameplay ability is not being triggered because we don't have it tagged properly, or we're still in a phase where we're not going through this branch. So let's see here. Are we hitting this? We are. And so if we're hitting that, activate abilities with item slot. Oh, interesting. We're doing two things here. This is interesting. Shared melee attack. Melee attack is a gameplay ability that has a punch right montage, which should go into a T-pose. The punch right montage I have not worked with montages in a while. Let's preview, notify, section. Okay, so that's punching. Save that. That way it's just in case it's not doing anything. Buddy, how did you just walk right by me? Alright, we're activating the ability, theoretically. Okay, so we should be activating this ability, but we're not. Let's take a look at a couple things here. The melee attack inherits from... Oh, okay. The melee attack is not actually doing anything because if we look up here, it's inheriting from projectile base. We don't want it to inherit from projectile base. We want it to, let's see what this first ability is. A gameplay ability. It doesn't do anything. All right, that doesn't help us. Fire skill wave. This inherits from GA skill base. What does GA skill base do? Commits the ability, it plays the montage and waits, and it does an ability. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to go back and change our melee attack to, I believe we can reparent this blueprint to the GA base. Reparenting may cause data loss, that's cool. Compile, save. Now let's see if we'll play the montage. Dude, you gotta be kidding me, bro. I'm right here. And it does not look like it's playing that montage still. Alright. Tag is melee. These are gameplay effects. We shouldn't even need gameplay effects right now. We should only have to have this ability tag on here. We do have a punch right montage. And when we look at skill base, it should come in here. It should commit the ability. Montage to play. Event tag. I want to put a breakpoint here. I want to see if we're activating this. it doesn't look like he's activating it. We're not hitting that breakpoint. So it's possible that, oh, I know what it is. This is our gameplay ability melee attack, except our enemies probably don't have this ability assigned. So let's see what we've got. So we have shoot gun, okay, but we don't have melee attack. So let's do this. Let's see if we give it melee attack. Compile, save. Now this is gonna be interesting to see. Where is this dude? Hey buddy. Okay, he's supposed to have melee attack now. Melee attack is a gameplay ability. That's our stat base. It has the ability tag event montage shared melee attack. And our melee attack is supposed to activate abilities with the tag with event montage interesting combos, frontal attack, melee attack. This is what it's supposed to be activating. This definitely should be doing that. But we're not even getting the call to the ability to activate, which means either our enemy doesn't have the melee ability assigned even though we think we do, or something's not right in our tagging or something. We'll have to, like, we know we're coming in here. In fact, let's just double check. We know we're coming in here. Hey buddy. This is weird to me. He's supposed to be able to, there we go. Man, it took him so, okay, so we're definitely firing this. What's interesting though is we're activating that and we're activating abilities with attempts to activate an ability in the specified item will return false if no. This attempts to activate all abilities that match the specified tags. Returns true if it thinks it activated, but it may return false positive due to failure later in activation. Interesting. Oh wait. This just came into activating the ability. Then we commit the ability. We do the thing. Oh, okay. Okay. I don't. Wait, it's definitely doing it. We're just not seeing it. So first off, we can skip this. We don't need this. We are technically at the end of time today. I know today was a little bit of a slow roll. I was up too late. And so energy levels are low right now, but let's just see. Okay, so that's activating the ability. Clearly should be activating the ability. I want to try removing the end. On bleed out, on interrupt, on canceled. Apply effect container. Event data. We will have to revisit this. Play. Man, it's just not playing the animation. What I'm expecting to happen is I'm expecting it to come in here. Oh. No, this is the montage that it's supposed to play. What montage does it think it's supposed to play here? Where are you at, buddy? Hi. It thinks it's supposed to play the punch montage. So either it's trying to play it, or our blueprint doesn't allow for us to be able to play this montage. Maybe that's the problem. That's wild. Okay, well, like I said, we're gonna be stumbling through all this stuff together, which is cool. I think it's possible that our blueprint is not, our Anna blueprint is not allowing this montage to play on top of its current structure. Like, I don't know if there's any ability hooks in there. I'll have to do some digging into that. So for those of you that were here, CS Media and anybody else, thanks for hopping in. As always, if you have questions that you want to go over in the next live stream, or there's something you're curious about with Unreal 4 and we can try to stumble through it together, give me a heads up. Put those in the comments down below. I'll try to get to those. And as always, thanks for watching and or spending time with us this morning. I hope you all have a great day.